All right, guys, let's do this problem. So we have 53 consecutive odd integers. Now remember, when we want to label it, the first one's going to be x. The first one is going to be x. The second one is going to be x plus 2, right? So on and so forth. Third one is going to be x plus 4. So the question is, what is the 53rd one going to be? Well, we can see this is going up by 2, right? These are going up by 2s. So a convenient way to look at it is that 2 times 2 is 4, minus 2 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6, minus 2 is 4, because it's a linear pattern, right? This is going up by 2s. So, does that make sense? So, for example, the fourth one, x plus 6. So 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 2 is 6. So using that logic, this is going to be 104, right? 106 is the double, and then I subtract 2. So I want to look for the 104, okay? Great. And now we say at most. So what does it mean to say, let's keep it simple, x is at most 3. So wouldn't that mean this? X is, so right away that logic means it's this, okay? And you could also break it down. This is going to be the first one, and then look, what's the 29th one going to be? Times 2 minus 2, so it's going to be the 56, so we expect that there. And then the 26 should come last, right, guys? There's a 1 less than 100. So it's kind of an English thing, right? This means we do 100 minus 1. So it's a lot of ways to go wrong on this. You could switch up the 26. You can get the sign wrong. You can get the numbers wrong. Not a difficult question, but highly conceptual. Okay, so I designed this. A little tricky, but hope you learn from it. Desmos won't save you. You gotta, you know what's going to save you? Fundamentals and conceptual thinking. That's going to save you. Okay. All right. Great question. I've seen a lot of people go over this. The best way is not to multiply it out. The best way is use your imagination, guys. What happens if we think about log division here, right? That's the best way to do this problem. Then it's actually a 2-second, literally a 1 second, 2 second problem, right? Because how many times does this go into this? It has to be -8. So then a has to be -3, right? Simple as that. So the best way to do it is actually to visualize polynomial division, okay? Best way to do that problem. Okay, cool problem here. We have, it helps to, especially when you're getting started, to conceptualize this. So we're mixing two things to get a final mixture, right? The final mixture is 50 grams. And it has 50% silicon, so the total mass of silicon is 25 grams, correct? Now, the first one is going to be x grams. The next one is going to be what's left over, so 50 minus x. We could do x and y, but I prefer to do this. And it's going to be 30% silicon by mass, so this is 0.3x, and then this is going to be 80%, so 0.8, 50 minus x, okay? And then we could just have a straightforward algebra equation, silicon here plus silicon here equals silicon there. Now, I'm going to show you guys a cool method using alligation. Guys, we're mixing a 30%, right? And a 50%, sorry, and an 80% to get a 50%. So check it out. I'm going to think of this 50 stuck here. I'm going to think of the 80 as a 50 plus 30. And I'm going to think of the 30 as a 50 minus 20, okay? So the point is, these occur in a 3-to-2 ratio, right? If I had 3 of these and then 2 of these, everything would balance out to the 50% is what I want, okay? So that's called alligation, it's a pretty cool concept. So that means I need 30 grams of this, right? And then I need 20 grams of this. You could easily do this on Desmos, by the way. I'm just showing you a cool method called alligation, So for example, try this one. If I mix at 18% and 30%, to get a 20%, how much would I need of each, right? So this is a -2 and this is a +10. So I need 10 of these and 2 of these, it has to be in a 5-to-1 ratio, okay? So anyways, I need 30 grams of this, 20 grams of this, but it says that I have 30% silicon. So this is only going to be 9 grams of silicon in here, and this is going to be 16 grams in here. So then I want A plus B, so A plus B is 25, okay? So conceptual question. This is very similar to a PSAT question, official one. So just added a little twist to it. So, okay, good job. All right, function f is defined here where the average of the roots is p. So, what is, guys, the sum of the roots, right? So r1 plus r2, the sum of the roots equals opposite, right, b over a, right? So, but I want the average of the roots, okay? So I do this, right? Divide by 2, divide by 2, and that's going to equal p. So negative b over 6 equals p. So b equals negative 6p, right? So conceptual question, okay? And then the roots here, guys, we can just easily factor this out, right? Okay, so let me rewrite it like this. So now I'm multiplying this times this. So it's going to be what? 3x squared minus 6px minus 7. And then I multiply that by 3x squared, right? Minus 10x plus minus 8. So think smarter, not harder. I want to get the x cubed coefficient. So it's going to be here and here, right? So that's negative 30x cubed. And then what else is going to contribute to that? Logically, guys, it's going to be this one, right? So minus 18p x cubed, and that's going to be the only thing, okay? And I want to match this to negative 30, right? Yeah, so sorry, I want to match this with r. Let me write it underneath it. So it's talking about the coefficient, right? So let me just extract the coefficient. So negative 30 minus 18p. I want to express that as r minus sp. So r minus sp, right? So think about it carefully. My r equals negative 30, right? Now be careful here. Is my s 18 or negative 18? It's just going to be that 18, right? S equals 18, right? So now I can just, what's 2r? So I have negative 60 plus 18, right? So that's going to be negative 42, okay? Good job. All right. So the students are missing this. You just got to be careful, guys. This is a unit circle problem. You don't have to memorize it. You just have to have good fundamentals. So I'm going to create a triangle right here. It's okay if you don't see it right away. So I'm going to call this angle A. Now the x is going to be root 3 over 2. And this is going to be 1/2. And unit circle is 1. Whenever SAT loves this 30, 60, 90. Whenever we have the leg is half the hypotenuse, we want to look for the 30, 60, 90 relationship. So this is 30 degrees, okay? 30 degrees. And then we have this triangle here. Don't worry about the negative since we're just trying to get the total angle measure there. So this is root 2 over 2. And this is, technically it's negative root 2 over 2, but I'm just going to make it positive. So it's going to be a 45, 45, 90, right? So that's going to be a 45, 45, 90. It's going to be a little different, right? So just create triangles, guys. So we have 30 degrees, right? Plus 45 degrees. Now, you don't have to memorize it. 180 degrees represents pi radians, okay? So look, what happens if I divide by 6 and divide by 6? I get pi over 6 radians, okay? And then plus, what happens if I divide by 4 and 4? So those who tell you don't need a little bit of mental math and you don't have to know your times table, I really disagree with that. It really helps you, make this stuff easy. So this is going to be pi over 4, okay? And then remember the fraction trick, this times this plus this times this. So I get 4 pi plus 6 pi, so I get 10 pi over 24, and that's going to be 5 pi over 12. So the answer is 5, okay? K equals 5, okay? Good job.